All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Raleigh, and we're here with the final reveal of the Elite Specializations for Visions of Eternity. So, I know last week was it was kind of crazy. So, last week we got the Paragon and the Ritualist, and I already forgot what was the third one that we got? This is medium armor. Oh, the Antiquary, right? So I know there was a lot of like talk about all of that stuff, right? There was a lot of I don't know, a lot of people were like feeling one way about something, feeling another way. So as you guys know, I was very excited about the Paragon personally. I was really hyped to finally get the Paragon in Guild Wars 2, but I'm kind of left a little bit disappointed a little bit in the way that I think it's been reverberated like over and over and over again. Like so many people have been talking about the same stuff with the Paragon, but I kind of wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it. So based on what we saw in the stream on Friday, and specifically, I want to tackle the Paragon because I main a warrior right now, and I have been for a long time now. And in my opinion, like I was very looking forward to it, but in my opinion, it's not. I don't think the Paragon is what it could be, right? As it stands right now. So obviously, there's been a lot of talk about how the utility skills, which are the commands, are actually not as effective as they could because there's other utility skills or other skills that the warrior has that are just straight up better or equal to that. And it's kind of crazy to me to look at that and really see, like, if someone puts it right side by side, right, and really show like, okay, this versus this, right, and it kind of makes you see like, oh man, yeah, like elite specializations are supposed to be somewhat of a step up from the core, of what the profession is. But if you're giving me skills that are equal or even less so sometimes, as effective as those core utility tools that you have, then what's the point, right? Like it's kind of weird. Like a lot of people pointed out how certain skills are the same as they were before. And one thing that I haven't taught, so there's two things that I kind of that obviously you guys can look at those feedbacks. I mean, I've seen a lot of it on the forums. I've seen a lot on Reddit. I've seen feedback on X as well. So you guys can, obviously those that are watching this stuff, like you guys are probably mostly caught up on that stuff, and you guys can find. I'm not going to sit here and just kind of regurgitate all the stuff that someone else has already talked about, and just kind of try to piece together what they were trying to say. But the thing is, I want to point out two things that I personally think, like, because I've talked about this before, okay? I'm not a type of, like, I'm not a numbers guy, right? I deal in concepts, I deal in, like, what looks good, like, that type of stuff, because I think that a big part of playing a profession, playing an elite specialization is kind of the flair of it, right? Like, you want it to feel really good as you're going into combat, as you're going through around the world. You want it to look good, you want it to feel good, you want it to be cohesive, you want there to be, like, a really good theme to it. So my thing is that the golden wings, right? So one of the things that really kind of bugged me was when we got the reveal image, right, or the preview image of the ritualist and the paragon, right? When they showed us that, they highlighted the spirit of the ritualist, right? And that was great. I mean, it was like, okay, when they showed the ritualist, it was like, that's what it's all about. It's like a spirit spammer. I think they did a really, really good job. I think many of the traits are well thought out from what I could tell. They seemed really to care about what the ritualist was in Guild Wars 1 and kind of translate that into Guild Wars 2, and giving us like weapon spells and giving us the spirit spammer idea and all these different things, like having the spirits teleport, like all these different things. I think they did really well. There are certain things they could probably do better. I think the weapon spells could use a little bit animation wise. Someone pointed out like the teleporting, like they just appear where you are, like once you teleport them to you, like there's no animation to it, which I kind of agree with. Like there should be something. Nothing, it doesn't have to be like an explosion of green, or turquoise or whatever, right? But just something kind of making it feel like it's, you know, there's something happening. But anyways, not a big deal, right? Like on those, I think all together, like, you know, I think the Ritualist is pretty good. So, but with the Paragon, the thing that they highlighted with the Paragon was the golden wings. And I just on Monday, just so you guys know, I do play on my streams. I once in a while I'm playing through Guild Wars 1 right now. We're doing a bunch of different streams, but one of the streams that I've been doing is playing through Guild Wars 1. And right now we're playing a character, we're playing a Paragon that has four other Paragons in the group, that all of them are using the shouts and commands and the chants and all the things, right? And there's golden wings everywhere all the time that are popping up. And it's so weird to look at that and think how prominent the golden wings were in Guild Wars 1 with the Paragon profession, and then now we look at the Paragon in Guild Wars 2 and we only see it on the elite skill. That's the only time we see it, which is your, you know, least used skill out of all of them, right? All the other ones many of them use off of cooldown or whatever, and they have much shorter cooldowns. But your elite skill, many people kind of reserve that for like perfect moments or whatever. Specifically the one that you get, because that deals with preventing other people from dying. So that is a very specific use, but only having it on the elite skill kind of misses the point then of the golden wings, right? Like, it's so weird. I think it should be happening on all of the utility skills. The thing is, the way that I thought about this is that the elite skill has the golden wings and that weird like symbol that comes behind it, a round symbol, right? And I think that they could keep it like that. And then for just the utility skills, the way they could have it is just have the golden wings come out. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, we get a symbol behind it and he like elevates into whatever, right? Like, it doesn't have to be all that, right? That can all be for the elite skill, but just having like golden wings pop up for the other command skills, like that would be, I think, a lot better. I think that would work a lot better. That would look a lot better. So that was my one complaint. I think that's not even a huge complaint. I think a lot of people have been saying that as well. The other one is the range of it, and I think I feel like I'm the only person that's talked about this, because all the complaints that I've seen so many different complaints, and like, here's my issue with Paragon and how could it be better, and let me, you know, criticisms and like actually constructive criticisms and all that stuff. And I have not found one person that has talked about that issue that I have with it. The range of all of the skills on the Paragon are 360. Like, that's the radius of all your refrains, your echoes, your commands, your every effect that you have is in a radius of 360, which is tiny. It's a tiny, almost melee range. It's like just outside of melee range. So even even during the stream, Cal had to sit right in front of the golems and use the effect in order to actually affect the golem. So my question is, well, what's the point of having a spear then? Because you're going to be in melee range, and there's way better melee weapons than the spear. The spear is an okay long range weapon, like power long range weapon, but you're going to have to be in the enemy's face anyways, because if you're building the Paragon as a DPS, you're not going to have the ability to be far away, because the radius is only 360. And it's so weird to me, because if we're comparing it to something that's already available to the warrior, so many people have pointed out that the commands are actually almost how many of the shouts are, and some of them are even less effective than the shouts are, because there's like a delay and stuff like that. There's, you know, technicalities that go into all of that. But the thing also is that every single shout in the game has a range of like 600. Like, all the warrior shouts have a radius of 600, and also the On My Mark one has a 1200 range. So now we're getting these new abilities on a new set, on a character that's kind of supposed to be like a backline supportive character that's supposed to kind of help out that way with a radius of 360, meaning that you can't be in the backline, you have to be in the front because that's only a 360 radius. So if you're trying to get any of the effects on your enemy, like, yeah, your friendly units are going to be probably close to you, but if you're trying to, you know, affect your enemy, you're gonna have to be in melee range, and that really kind of, all of them are 360 radius, just so you guys know. All of them, I looked through all of them, they're all 360 as far as I could tell. Maybe I missed one or whatever, but I looked through all of them and I'm like, these are all 360 radius, why are they not 600? All the other shouts in game, at least the ones that the warrior has, are all 600. So you're giving me something that's in some cases worse than what's already available to the warrior, and you have it as a smaller radius too. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, I think it should be a 600 range because you kind of want a little bit of the range with the Paragon. It's supposed to be a long range spec, and you know, using this, like, it's supposed to be like the spear is supposed to be kind of used with that because it's the Paragon and the spears kind of go with that. But there's no point in using the spear because there's way more, like, the melee weapons, there's many melee weapons that are way better than the spear. I like to use dual daggers, and dual daggers are way better than the spear, so I'm gonna just choose to do that and just go into melee range. You know what I mean? So I was kind of hoping for like a range thing, so that's kind of my feedback there. So I kind of wanted to talk about that before we got into, I know we're like, you know, what, 11 minutes now into this video, but I kind of wanted to point that out. Those were my things. Obviously, I think a lot of the feedback is going to come from specifically the beta week that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Actually, today in 2 weeks is going to be the beta. It's going to start. So obviously, you know, right now this is like preliminary kind of assessment that I've made. I just kind of want to see more of the golden wings and a bigger radius on all of those skills. I think all of those need to be a bigger range than 360. So that's kind of my feedback. All right, anyways, so I will tell you guys, we're talking about the last three. We're talking about Elementalist, we're talking about Engineer, we're talking about Revenant. Okay, those are the last three. I will tell you guys, I have looked at the blog post because I'm recording this fairly late and I was busy this morning. And I was like, oh my god, I can't record, but I kind of want to look at it because I was like so curious. So I did look at some of the stuff, and there's some really interesting, cool stuff that's coming out that you guys are going to see. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I've seen this stuff, so don't be surprised if I'm not like super... I didn't read into all of the different things, but I do know some of the stuff. I didn't watch the video though. So it's kind of the opposite of what happened last week, where I watched the video, but we didn't have the thing. So let's pull up the, let me pull it up here. All right, there we go. So the final three elite specializations, Elementalist, Engineer, and Revenant. Ooh, super exciting. So let's, as always, watch the video. I'm going to give you guys my opinions on all the things. And so we're going to watch the thing first. The art is just so fantastic. It's so good, okay? So good. And I've seen a lot of people be very, very hyped about these things. I've been trying to avoid the Discord because I know everyone on my Discord is probably like freaking out and like talking about it. And I haven't gone there because I don't want to get too spoiled. So after this, I'm going to go in there and talk to everyone. But this is really, really great already. Like, the art here is fantastic. I'm very excited. So let's kind of look at it. Let's watch it, and let's see. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second here. Let me make sure that this is... Okay, yeah. Okay, thumbs up.
Evocation was a veiled practice among Norn shamans, but the spirits of the wild have encouraged them to share this practice with Tyria. Evokers channel the elements to summon forth a familiar to join them in battle. Summon a cunning fox familiar to throw flaming projectiles at your enemies. Call forth a gentle otter and quench the battlefield with cleansing waves. Electrify the scene with a hair cast from lightning and storm. And break ground with the help of an earthen toad, fortifying yourself. These familiars will be your strongest allies in battle. Protect them as they protect you, and help the spirits of the wild connect once again with the greater world as the Evoker. Asuran ingenuity has done it again. With the creation of the mercurial mold, an amalgam can attune their microbial biology to their new ferrofluid friend to enhance their body in battle. Shred your enemies as you throw out globs of slime to form flying discs that cut anything in their path. Command your ooze to form around you as you melt to avoid incoming attacks, and deal out damage to enemies that stand too close. And don't forget to bash the enemy as you cleave them with a blunt mold. As an amalgam, bond with your mold and adapt to the ever-changing battlefield. A mysterious entity is at play. Razah has been watching Tyria from the mists, channel their powers, assume different forms, and devastate the battlefield as a conduit. Channel Razah and gain ascension skills. Gain their powers, but only for a limited time. Learn their abilities to better understand the best path to victory. Through your connection to the assassin, warrior, mesmer, monk, and dervish. Unleash powers that have not been seen since the legends themselves. Through your connection to Razah, find strength, resilience, courage, and purpose as the conduit.
Okay, so there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. So I kind of want to... I'm very, very impressed with these. I feel like ArenaNet did this on purpose because I think they sat down. I have a feeling that they all sat down and they were like, which ones do you guys think out of all of these? Like, be honest. Do you guys think are the best ones? I think they saved these for the end because these are really, really interesting and very, very cool. So we're going to kind of go through without the sound. So I'll we'll kind of talk about some of the stuff that they talked about in the video. So first is the Evoker. Okay, so we're going to be summoning spirits. So it's not just the fox spirit. A lot of people were talking about how the fox spirit is going to change based on which element, but it's actually different spirits of the wild. So it's fox, otter, hare, and toad. So these are 4 technically almost new spirits. Hare has been like the spirit of, bunny or hare or whatever, right? Has been in the open world. Actually, when you go to like Rarefair Foothills, you actually encounter like there's a whole thing with the jackalope and stuff like that, where there's actually someone that follows hare and stuff, and you will find those people around. But like fox isn't really so. I don't think we've ever heard a mention of a fox spirit. I don't think we've ever heard mention of a. We've seen otter. Otter was in Icebreath Saga, right? That was like a whole thing. There's a whole collection that you can do where you get actually Otter's spirit. So it's actually kind of cool because you can have the Otter's spirit out, and you can have the little spirit that so you can have the otter spirit, and you can have the little Icebreath Saga spirit that is otter as well. So you can have like double otter, which is really, really cool. I like that idea. It's really interesting. I love this. I love that it's not just one animal that's kind of like channeling different elements, but it's different animals based on which element. I really like that. It was kind of the same when we look at like Catalyst. It was kind of the same with the Jade Sphere and like the things that you would summon there. So it's kind of the same feel. I don't know ability wise. This is very interesting because the thing still is, so this is based on Norn, right? And channeling the spirits of the wild and stuff like that. So I really like that. And these guys, apparently, they help you out by shooting, like, projectiles and stuff. But then it also looks like it kind of has, again, a little bit... I will kind of... And we'll have to read about it because I don't really quite understand it yet. It feels like it has the same idea of Catalyst, once again, where it's about channeling all 4 elements in a row. And then you get this, like, powerful whatever, right? That is now all 4 spirits combined. And then you use that to... whatever current spirit you have to like enact this really powerful attack. So it's kind of the same thing that it was on the Catalyst, where on the hammer they had you go through all the like elements and use the 3 skill on it, where you would get the orbs around. Excuse me. And so it's I feel like it's kind of the same thing here. So I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that, but I love the idea of having these aren't like pets exactly, but they're kind of almost like mobile turrets. It feels like we'll have to kind of see exactly how they help in the way of like by the way, the bunny, the hair, the attack that it does where it zaps through the like enemy like that is so cool. I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like watch it right here. Pew pew pew. It like zaps around. Oh my god, that is so cool. I love the little toad. He's so cute. They're all really, really cute. I love the little I love the this looks like new like we've seen like rocks come out of the ground before. I think this is a new like model of rocks. This looks very polished at least. So it looks really cool. So I don't know. We're gonna have to read about it. I'm not exactly sure, but it looks like that whoever you're channeling, once you have all four of those powers, maybe that's the elite skill or something that they're using, where it's just like boom, okay, we're channeling all four of the spirits and they're attacking or something. I don't know. We're gonna have to kind of see how that works. So that's really cool. So next up is the Amalgam. The Amalgam is really cool. So a lot of people talk about Quicksilver, right? There was a poem about the Quicksilver, Mercury, whatever you want to call it. And it looks like they were right on with that, right? So it looks like you're channeling the powers of like Quicksilver and Mercury, and you're using this like liquid metal to attack your foes, right? And the animation is so cool. I love it. Like one thing that's really, really cool about this is how unique it looks. I know we have the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut, just so you guys know, is a legendary hammer that you can wield that kind of gives you this, and it'll go like perfect with this too, because you're gonna be metallic like this. It gives you the same effect around your whole body, and it kind of drips down. It has this like Quicksilver effect, and but that's the only time that we see it. So unless you're wielding that specific hammer, you don't see this. This is like a new. I like this because this is not like, oh, it's not a regular like electricity or fire or water, right? This is like a new thing. Like you're gonna see this stand out in battle. All the animations on here are really, really cool. I really love it. I love the discs, right? So you throw these discs, but they're actually like saw blades. I saw that. Like they're like not just look, they're actual saw blades. So cool. I'm like, that is so, so cool. I love that. And so you throw those out. That's probably one of, I don't know if that's like one of the F abilities or something. Then you can actually evade. So there's an evade here where you go into puddle. Then you have, yeah, so they show that again from a different perspective. Then you have like a hammer that you can pull out where you can slam your enemy, and it actually creates these Quicksilver spikes on the ground. Super cool. And then you have these like this tornado around you of like these spikes that apparently is like a duration. So you cast it, but then you can see he's attacking. The char is attacking. So that's like you cast it, and it like has a duration around you for a few seconds. It's not very long, but it's really cool. They don't show too much of it, but I already love this. I love that this is really, really cool. This looks super fun. I am not an engineer player, but this kind of makes you want to play engineer because that's really, really cool. So I can see a lot of really cool fashion around that as well. Like I said, with the hammer, once you get that Quicksilver hammer, man, it's just, you're like, that's golden. It's great. So it looks really cool. Now we come to the craziest thing, okay? So we talk about Razah, okay? Is that how they pronounce it? I always
Channel their powers, assume different forms, and devastate the battle. Razah has been
Razah. So I never knew how to pronounce the name because, and I'll kind of talk about this. So just so you guys understand, Razah was this really mysterious character from Guild Wars 1, and we're gonna kind of talk about it. I have his page pulled out, or its page that kind of tells you, and the way that they talk about Razah, you guys would kind of understand. We call it because that's what it is. It looks male, but it doesn't actually have a gender. And we're going to talk about that a little bit because it's really cool. And I think there was a couple people that actually called this, but I did not expect this. I did not expect this. The reason why I never expect a Razah to become a legend is because I always imagined Razah to be a person that we meet in Guild Wars 2 because it's technically a creature from the mists, and we don't even know if it has mortality or not. But apparently, Razah went back into the mists and has been watching as the dialogue goes, in this the voiceover, but has been watching from the mists. So Razah, so this is really really cool. This is like demon adjacent, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But we'll kind of look at the animation. So you get this. Razah had this like very prominent headpiece, which is like how you could always identify Razah in your group was like the headpiece. So you kind of get that when you channel him or it, right? You kind of see the that's Razah, so that's what it looked like, and it's kind of an interesting art. The art is very interesting because it looks so. They really leaned on the whole being what's that? What's the hydrogenous? Is that the word? What's the word when you look like both male and female? Because it's a very female looking face, but it's clearly a male body. But I think they went with the whole idea of that you don't really know the gender, or there is no gender. It doesn't have a gender. So it's kind of cool. I like that. But yeah, so you summon. This is kind of cool. This is very reminiscent of Scarlet Briar. How my Trin kind of had Scarlet Briar like above her or whatever in End of Dragons. So that's kind of reminiscent, but you summon Razah in like these different ways. So apparently there's like a gap closer where you attack. I like the color. Obviously, you guys know like gold is like my favorite color. So I really love that. It looks really really cool. But yeah, I don't know. They don't talk about too much in detail, but it's really cool. And apparently, it's supposed to enhance the other legends or something, is what it looks like, because they actually mentioned the other they talk about assassin, and they talk about mesmer, monk, dervish. Even they mentioned even the dervish they talked about. So I don't know exactly what they mean by all of that, but that's really cool. And as soon as they say dervish, there's actually a scythe that comes out. So that was a dervish weapon. We've talked about the dervish before on the channel many times actually. So I don't really know what's going on here. Like I don't really know what like they're using a hammer here, but it looks like you're just going to be enhancing your already existing like legends or something. So it's really really cool. Like the little spinning thing here of is that usually how that looks, or is that enhanced? I don't know, but yeah. So let's kind of read about it, because I feel like again they're not giving us a lot here to work with. So let's read. Today we're unveiling the final three elite specializations coming to Guild Wars 2 Visions of Eternity. If you missed our previous reviews, blah blah blah. Before we dive into details, yep, we're gonna do a stream. All right. Anyways, we don't need to read all that. Again, art is fantastic. Whoever drew this, and that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite staff skins too on the using that on the elementalists. So really cool. I love the little spirits. This art is fantastic. Like, who doesn't love this? This looks so cool. I love the art. It's so good. The Evoker oh my goodness. The Evoker, spiritual summoners. Having toppled, like, I'm just so excited that I'm like stumbling over my own words. Having toppled the powerful Jotun civilization in the previous Dragon Rise, Jormag was poised to claim. That's an interesting claim. Toppled the powerful Jotun civilization in the previous Dragon Rise. Like, it was more. That's kind of weird. That seems almost like a retcon in a way. I'm gonna kind of stop here, because as far as we always knew, the Jotun, they kind of became. They started infighting. It was all about like the different tribes. They all were kind of vying for power or whatever, and they started like mistrusting each other, and they started fighting each other. And because of that, they fell into this state that they are now. They kind of lost their powers and stuff like that. So I'm not sure exactly why they're saying like toppled by Jormag. Like, that's kind of strange, so I don't know about that. However, as the dragon's influence crept south of the mountainous crown, displacing the various Codan sanctuaries, it collided with the stalwart and courageous resolve of the Norn and their ever-watching guides, the spirits of wild, the spirits of the wild. That's spirits of wild. I feel like that's definitely the typo there. Despite their resistance, Jormag's campaign left lasting scars on many of the spirits, consuming or corrupting those that held the line. In the years since Jormag's defeat, the Norn have made strides to reconnect and commune with the spirits. Many now turn to old practices that harken to a time when the first pacts that entwined both groups in spiritual harmony were spoken. That entwined both groups in spiritual harmony were spoken. The centuries-old tradition of the Evoker. Drawing upon the forces of the natural world, these Norn elementalists call upon spiritual companions and empower them with elemental energies. At the spirit's behest, the Norn have been encouraged to share this practice beyond their own to help restore and heal Tyria's nature spirits. So I like that. I like the idea that now, after Jormag's defeat, the Norn are trying to connect with the spirits of the wild a little bit more, and they're trying to kind of harness the powers in different ways and connect with nature by doing it through the spirits. And so that's kind of where that came from. We saw that in the trailer right here. So familiar friends, every evoker starts with a choice. Which element do you want to specialize in? Okay, that's new. So you actually get to specialize. Selecting an elemental skill on the F5 slot will specialize in that element, granting a few bonuses. First, the attunement skill for that element will have a significantly reduced recharge time. The attunement skill for that element. Okay, so when you're trying to attune, so if you're choosing to that's really cool. So specializing in one specific element. So if you're specializing in one specific element, that attunement skill will get a reduced recharge. In addition, some of the evoker's traits and utility skills will be affected by your chosen element, and most importantly, a familiar of that element will join you on your adventures. Oh, so it doesn't matter what element I'm in. So if I'm saying I want to specialize in water, I will now have the water otter guy that's hanging out with me. So that's really cool. I love that. I'm already very excited about that. Fire specialist will be accompanied by the cunning fox, water joined by the mischievous otter, air by the agile hare, while earth gets the stalwart toad. And I love that. I love the toad as like the earthen guy there. The familiar has two different skills that are available in the F5 slot once they're fully charged. A basic skill and an empowered skill. The basic skill is charged as the evoker uses their own weapon skills, requiring a total of 6 to fully charge. Okay, that's fine. Very easy. I mean, you know, when we think about that, like, you can pop off so many weapon skills really quick, so that they'll charge really quick. So the basic is charged. Weapon skills that match the familiar's element will count for double, meaning that only 3 fire attunement skills would be required to fully charge the fox's skills. Okay, so 3 for the otter, and 4 in water. Got it. The familiar's empowered skill will unlock after using its basic skill 3 times, and that's when the evoker and their familiar unleash their full potential. So that's when that giant attack happens there, I think. So that's kind of cool. The evoker is a flexible specialization capable of filling a number. Again, they're not giving us the name of these skills, right? I'm gonna have to reread. The evoker is a flexible specialization capable of filling a number of roles depending on which element you specialize in. Those leaning toward fire may choose to focus on condition damage, as the fox will complement those builds well. Okay. It's a flexible, so it'll fill a number of roles. Fire coming has 2 different skills. The basic skill, weapon skills. So they're just talking about weapon skills. Yeah, they're not really talking about first, the attunement skill is in addition, utility skills will be affected by your chosen element. So it doesn't talk, again, they're not giving us, it's so weird. So we kind of had 1, 2, 1. Because last week, I remember they gave us like all the different like names of the utility skills and stuff like that. Now they're kind of, again, making this a whole secret. But I like the concept. This is really interesting because I like the idea, you know, we've talked about this many times where I've always wanted to specialize in one specific element. And I kind of want to, I'm not a fan of like having to switch different elements all the time. Because, you know, I make thematic characters that are not just like, oh, I'm just a powerful wizard, but I'm a water wizard or elementalist specifically, right? Or like I specialize in earth or whatever, you know? So I've always looked for that type of stuff. So now having the ability to kind of specialize, at least, like not take away the ability to swap between elements by kind of making like, hey, once you specialize in that one specific element, that's going to become... I want to see how this kind of changes the utility skills, what the spirits can do, but this is really cool. This is really, really, I like this. This looks really good on paper, right? This is kind of like giving us, this is kind of like the outline of the paper on paper. So we'll have to see how this transfers into, I think Friday is going to give us a little bit more insight into that. So I thought we were done. We're not done. Fiery Foxes. The Fox's basic skill is called Ignite, so maybe they're going to give us... I thought I was done. I'm sorry. We're not moving on yet. The Fox's basic skill is called Ignite. When activated, the Fox will launch a fiery missile at your target, dealing some damage and inflicting burning. An enemy struck by the skill in quick succession will receive additional stacks of burning. Okay, after using Ignite 3 times and hopefully inflicting a good chunk of burning, Evokers will gain access to the Fox's empowered skill, Conflagration. Using the skill will summon the Fox near your target, after which it will perform a leaping strike that inflicts burning and also spreads any burning from that target to nearby enemies. Up to the limit, we thought that spreading 1,500 burning stacks might be a bit too powerful. Come on, Arena, let us have some fun. Because those of you that don't know, all the different conditions in the game stack to the maximum stack you can have are 1,500. Now, I don't think that's even achievable. That's even possible in game. I mean, you could probably find some kind of way to maybe get the bleeding to that max stack in a weird way, but 1,500 is the max. It used to be. So those of you that don't know, that are new to the game, we used to actually have a limit of 25. So you can only have 25 bleeding stacks. You could only have 25 burning stacks. You could only have, like, those were limited to 25 stacks. And they changed, like, a number of years back now, like probably 10 years ago or whatever. They changed that because it was just like, bleeding, you would always have the max stack on it, and there was no point in actually taking bleeding as a condition on any of your sets, because the enemy was always at max stack of 25 bleeding anyways, because it was just, bleeding is so widespread, right? So they changed it, and they changed it from 25 to 1,500. And kind of changed, and with it there was a lot of other changes they did to conditions and even boons at the time. But yeah, so very interesting. So they're kind of, again, they're not giving us the utility skills. They're kind of talking about what the Fox can do, which is kind of, what does the Fox say? The Fox says, I'm gonna burn you alive, pretty much. That's what's happening. Ignite and conflagration. But they're saying here is more for condition damage. But remember, we did recently get our Inferno trade, which has been very, very popular, which would make these burning stacks actually scale with power damage. So there is still a power build that I can see being used. But anyway, so I guess we're going to find out more. But so far, I like it. Obviously, being mostly a guy that uses water, I wanted to hear more about the Otter, but... we're only going to get, fire is the thing that everyone uses anyway. So we got a little bit of that. But yeah, so now the Amalgam. Really cool. I think the Amalgam is really, really cool. Again, the art is fantastic. Is great. Love it. Love it. Looks so good. Oozing with power. Assyrian scientists have studied, manipulated, transformed, and occasionally displaced oozes at every level of scientific research. Endlessly adaptable, oozes can absorb the properties of substances and living creatures they come into contact with. And a recent breakthrough has allowed them to be used as a powerful tool for both defense and offense. Okay, so oozes. So we're channeling the power of oozes. The mercurial mold is a special species of ooze that can form a symbiotic bond with its owner and interpret their needs in battle. It's lightweight, responds instantly, requires no special feeding, and best of all, no fatalities have been reported as a result of the bonding process. Why not give it a try? All right, so we get another image from there. Slime time. Bonded with their mercurial mold, amalgams are engineers with unparalleled adaptive capabilities. By being able to freely customize which morph skills they select. Okay, So we get different morph skills. You can arrive to any fight with the right tools to survive and dish out damage. Amalgams can temporarily meld with their slime, resulting in an altered or even mutated form. An amalgam's experimentation results in a malleable fighter that can always find the edge in combat. So very vague, but it sounds like you get to customize a little bit in the sense of like which morph skills you're taking with you. I don't know if morph skills are the utility skills, and there's like every utility skill is a different morph of some kind, or if there's more to the like F abilities. Like how are the F abilities going to change? Like the tool belt, is the tool belt going to be replaced by morph skills? What's the idea here? Oh, actually, you know what? Right there, it's right there in the next sentence. Just keep reading, Raleigh. Amalgams replace the engineer's utility belt abilities with morph abilities. So there is the answer to my question. There are several morph skills, and you can select which ones to fight with in the same manner you select your utility skills. Okay, so what? You get 3 or 4 tool belt? It was a 4. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I do not play engineer like ever. So I don't know how many tool belt. I think it was 4. I want to say it's like F1 through F4, right? I want to say. So there's 4, but it sounds like if you can select which ones to fight with in the same manner you select utility skills, it sounds like there's more than 4 to be selected. So is there like 8 of them that you can select from, and you can select like 4 of those? Because they're saying like you can select which ones to fight with. The morph skills command the mercurial mold to shapeshift into different forms, such as a shield, defensive spikes, or even massive sword. Or hammer. We saw a hammer earlier. So this is so cool. I love this. So this is almost like a... You know what this feels like? This feels like a shroud, where you can kind of pick your shroud a little bit, and you can kind of pick out... It's almost like a combination of shroud and like what the luminary does. The luminary has their own shroud too. So because again, the luminary gets to pick different weapons as well. So this is very like luminary. This is very like another shroud, another luminary, kind of a different version of a shroud in a weird way. So very interesting. Become one with the mold. Your elite tool belt skill is replaced by evolve. Evolve briefly combines your elite tool belt skill. So is that F5 or is that F4? I don't know, whatever. I don't play engineer. Evolve briefly combines the engineer and mercurial mold into one being, granting a host of benefits. Those benefits, however, are unique to each slime. As you select your morph skills, your mercurial mold's composition is altered to also change what happens when you evolve. Oh my god, the compositional shifts, called strains, can vary from granting super speed and quickness to stunning nearby enemies when you evolve. Amalgam's utility skills are stances. Okay, so here we have stances. The mercurial mold can assist you to shift your form, making you as dense as steel or as light as a feather. With the skill Liquid State, you can even melt down into a puddle. Wow, this is really cool. I like this. They really thought outside the box with this. That's what it feels like to me, that they really thought outside the box here. This is really, really cool. You can select like different morph skills, and then like your evolve skill becomes different based on that, and then you have different stances that are like utility. This is really cool. I can't not wait to see this in action. This is really cool looking so far. I really like that. Yeah, for sure. This is really, really cool. I don't know really what to say about it, but I like it. It sounds really cool. I don't know. I don't know if I'm like just super hyped for the expansion or what. So, all right. Next up is Razah. So, channeling Razah. I'm not sure how this icon represents Razah in any shape or form. So I'm going to read this because I don't know how much they're going to talk about Razah. I don't know if I'm... Like, the thing is, I want to talk about Razah, but I don't know if they're going to be talking about Razah. And then I think they are because I see Abaddon already. So they're going to talk about Razah, and we're going to kind of... So let's kind of read about it. Because then we're going to... I have the page up, so we're going to talk about Razah in a minute. So... anyways, the Conduit, channeling the past. Centuries ago, the hero who defeated the fallen god Abaddon met a strange entity imprisoned deep within the realm of torment, Razah, a being born of the mists. Freed by Abaddon's death to seek their own purpose in life, Razah chose to accompany the heroes who crossed Tyria, and their boundless curiosities led them to study and master any number of martial and magical disciplines. But Razah's story seemed to have ended with their companions. No one has seen or heard from them since. They may have returned to the mists to wander, or fallen to the corruption they once feared. They might have learned to mimic human behavior precisely enough to live 100 lives in obscurity. Or they could have been watching our world, still learning and waiting for someone like you. Okay, so harness the mist. So I'm not going to touch on this. We'll touch on that later once we talk about Razah. Harness the mist. After the complexity of having two different legends in the form of Saint Victor and Archimedes in Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, we wanted to focus on a single legend that offered an equally unique experience. As a denizen born of the mists, Razah is the first living legend to living legend. So they're confirming that Razah is still alive to assist the Revenant in their adventures. Interesting. So we have a living legend. The first living legend. Guys, this could open a plethora of things. Imagine channeling someone that's still alive. That's crazy, right? That maybe lives in the mists, right? Because we channel through the mists, so it would have to be someone that's in the mists. So it sounds like Razah has been in the mists and watching us, right? Like, or it could be watching our world, and living legends. So they're just still hanging out in the mist somewhere. It's kind of cool. The environment is really cool around there too. Okay. With the Conduit, we wanted to portray the multifaceted nature of Razah's unique link to the mist. Thus, the elite specialization was designed to have a malleability and flexibility that reflects Razah's ability to transform into any profession. That's another key thing about Razah. By amplifying the Revenant's connection to the mist, the Conduit can tap into a deeper well of power through the legends they choose to channel, further augmenting their existing strengths. Okay, so augmenting the legends you already channel. So I kind of need more. As the Conduit, Legendary Affinity. As the Conduit, you gain the ability to use Cosmic Wisdom, allowing you to further channel the powers of the equipped legend, giving rise to different forms. As an example, using Cosmic Wisdom with Legendary Assassin Stance equipped gives access to Form of the Assassin, granting the Conduit bonus power and movement speed, as well as inflicting debilitating conditions on foes you strike. Cosmic Wisdom only lasts for a limited amount of time, but it can be extended through the use of Affinity. Okay, Affinity is a new resource that a new resource. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna stop right here. Like, one of the biggest things that bothers me about the Revenant is the energy management. So now giving us another resource to manage, again, we're gonna have to read further to see how they use it, but I'm already like, eh. So, but anyway, so let's read. Affinity is a new resource that represents the strength of your connection to your legend. Affinity can be gained through using any legendary skills that cost energy. Each point of affinity you gain increases the duration of Cosmic Wisdom by a set amount. However, you lose all affinity as you swap legends. So it's the same with energy. It's the opposite of energy. It's the reverse of energy, where they both reset as you swap legends, but as you use skills in a said legend, you lose energy, right? Because you use the energy that then recovers, but you gain Cosmic Wisdom, and that goes higher and higher. But they both reset every time you swap. Okay. Thanks to the power of Razah, conduits gain access to legendary entity stance, bringing with them various skills that harken back to when they wandered Tyria as a hero. Each skill in legendary entity stance has an effect called resonance. Oh my god, Jesus. There's so many different effects on this already. I'm like so overwhelmed. So we have Cosmic Wisdom, which you can use to enhance the other legends, and then you also have a resource that kind of interacts with that. So Cosmic Wisdom is based off of Affinity, and you also have an effect called Resonance through the stances, a bonus effect that comes into play if your corresponding legend is equipped in the other slot. For example, Beguiling Haze normally shadow steps you to your target while performing a quick attack on them. However, when Legendary Assassin Stance is equipped as your second legend, the skill becomes an area of effect targeted skill, allowing conduits to shadow step even without a target and strikes all enemies in vicinity. Okay, so meaning that your resonance skill, or your entity stance. Each skill in the entity stance has an effect called each skill has resonance. Okay, so I guess the resonance skills, they're not telling us what those are called. So those are, I guess, the utility skills, and those do different things based off of who your second legend is, which is kind of cool, which means that you can stay in Razah, in the Razah legend, and, be the conduit, stay in that, and based off of who you have in your second slot without swapping to that, but you can have that influence what your utility skills do. So I kind of like this because it kind of lets you stay a little bit, because the thing is, you don't necessarily want to swap legends because then you lose cosmic wisdom. But to counteract that, they gave you the ability to have your still kind of like, it's almost like you're channeling your second legend, but not really, through those utility skills, those resonance skills or whatever, right? So it's kind of interesting. I'm a little wary on how the management here goes on the resources, like, how it goes with the wisdom, cosmic wisdom and stuff like that. We're gonna have to see how this all kind of plays out, I think. I'm not against any of it, but I think this is one of those that I need to see in action. I had a couple of those before where I'm like, I'm gonna need to see that in action. So I'm gonna be really curious about this. So let's kind of talk about Razah a little bit. To end today's video. I know we've been going at it a long time, but let me kind of talk about. So Razah, okay, Razah is this. We kind of heard about it, right? Let's read right here. The Guild Wars 2 Nightfall manuscript says this about Razah. Okay, the proto-matter that makes up the mist strains toward creation, often spawning demonic creations in nightmarish forms. So we've seen this through the Realm of Torment. We've seen this through Naya's The Realm of Dreams with the Cryptus and stuff like that. Not all creatures from the mists are demonic, however. When the mists come into contact with a suitable human template, and that's not necessarily like a human, it might just be an echo of a human, right? For example, it can copy that form, creating a sentient entity with humanoid appearance and an almost human mind. Razah is one such creation. It has sprung into being a fully formed adult. It has the knowledge and capabilities of a human, but lacks common sense. As a result, it asks odd questions about human emotions, contemplates human motivations, and attempts to duplicate human mannerisms. Razah is a contradiction, more than human in some ways and less than human in others. It needs an identity, a personality, and a purpose. Hopefully it will find its purpose by working with a hero. Otherwise, it could degenerate into an abomination as monstrous and inhuman as its demonic brethren. So this is kind of, this is what they were talking about in the post here, where it talks about right here, they may have returned to the mist to wander or fallen to the corruption they once feared. So this is exactly what this is, right? It could degenerate into an abomination as monstrous and inhuman as its demonic brethren. So this is almost like Razah is almost like this being that, rather than becoming a demon, became some sort of like humanoid creature. And the cool thing about Razah is that he joins you as a ritualist, but he actually is able to be, it says multiple right there on the right, you can see that it's actually able to change all of its skills and become whatever profession. So that's where that kind of comes from when they talk about, like kind of channeling the other legends and monk, mesmer, all these other things, because that's what it could become. It could become any of these, any of the Guild Wars 1 professions. So that's really cool. That's a unique thing about Razah. Okay, so this is the art about the official art. Razah art. This is when you unlock Razah. Razah is a sentient entity spawned from the mist. It has knowledge. It has the knowledge and capabilities of human, but lacks common sense. As a result, it asks odd questions, motivations, and attempts to duplicate human. Razah shares a connection with all things spiritual and is a powerful ritualist. So that's when you meet Razah, it is a spiritualist, okay, or a ritualist. I'm sorry, ritualist, and then it can change into anything. So that's really really cool. I love Razah. I love that Razah is back in a form like this. I really like this. This is really really cool. But yeah, we'll have to kind of see how that works out. You know, because they talk about the monk, the mesmer, the different things that it can channel, right? And that's really really cool to me. Like, I don't really understand how that plays into it, but you know, because the monk, for example, doesn't exist in Guild Wars 2. So how does it channel something like the monk, or you know, whatever? I want to see where it talks about that. Through the connection, through your connection to the assassin, warrior, mesmer, monk, right? And monk, they have Ventari, which monks in Guild Wars 1, just so you guys know, monks in Guild Wars 1 were the healers. They were the ones that used like holy magic, and oh, they would heal and blah blah blah, right? They would cast all the healing stuff. But this is Ventari, who isn't necessarily a monk, but he's a healer, right? Dervish, unleashing powers, dervish, who I will tell you guys, there's a whole discussion about how, like, I've already talked about this, how I think the Dervish already exists in Guild Wars 2, but, you know, and I'm glad that we didn't get the Dervish. I'm going to be honest with you guys, because the Dervish gameplay already exists in Guild Wars 2, and if you guys want to know more about that, you can always, you know, whatever. I'm not going to, that's a whole nother discussion, so I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, so it's really interesting. I really want to see how this plays. I don't think they gave us enough on any of these, so this is a great teasers. Without giving us too much. This is really really cool. So just so you guys know, Friday we're gonna have our live stream 12 p.m. I will not be making a video on that. I don't think I'm going to. But then next week, I don't know what's happening next week, so I was gonna talk about that for a second before I leave here. So next week next week is the 1 week where they don't have anything scheduled. So I have a feeling we might learn about the skimmer masteries. Maybe we're gonna learn a little bit more about Castora. Maybe we're gonna learn a little bit about the story. I have a feeling they're gonna at least do a blog post next week. Like, I'm thinking it's gonna be some kind of blog post. It's probably gonna be a shorter blog post, nothing crazy. And then the week after that is gonna be when we get to try the elite specializations. Okay. And that's going to be very important. Make sure that you guys voice your criticisms. Make sure that you are constructive on your criticisms. Don't just sit there and say, I quit the game because I absolutely hate Amalgam and I think it's stupid. Say, like, you know, what bothered you the most about that, right? Like, what, kind of be constructive. I'm going to try to be constructive as possible about all the things that I see. And maybe these guys look really cool. These three, I really think they did a good job on. I think the Evoker is probably, out of the three of them, my least like hyped one. I like it, but I think the Amalgam and the Conduit are super. The Amalgam, I think, takes it. I'm not an engineer player at all. Like, but I feel like the Amalgam really takes it. Really wins on that one, I think. It looks really, really cool. So, anyways, this is gonna be it for today. If you guys want to support the channel, my referral links are down below. You can, if you sign up for a new account for Guild Wars 2, make sure to use my referral link. If you guys are buying the expansions, make sure to use my referral link. It helps me out a ton, and I really, really appreciate everyone that has been doing that. There's also, if you guys want to support further, if you already have an account, you already have all the expansions, you already have all of that, and you want to support further, you can become members on the channel. Memberships are available. You get, in my live chat when I'm streaming, you get a little badge, and you get access to my emojis, which are really, really cute. So you have that if you guys want to support the channel. I really, really appreciate it. And obviously, you know, just watching and hanging out and commenting and sharing and liking and all the stuff helps me out a ton. So we do have a Discord if you guys want to hang out with me. We do. It's gotten actually a lot livelier since, like, I don't know, this whole thing started. So, you know, you guys can hang out in there. We kind of just discuss all kinds of different things. We hang out, and eventually I'm going to start planning on doing some giveaways on there as well. So if you guys want to be part of that, make sure to join the Discord. You know, I don't spam it or anything. There's not like anything crazy going on in there. It's not huge. There's not 100,000 people in there or whatever. So, but anyways, yeah. So I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys. I'll probably be streaming tonight. So if you guys see me going live, you know, again, you know, if you're subscribing to the channel, you'll see it. I'll probably be going live tonight, and we can talk about all these things today. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys then. All right, bye guys.